another Big Ten conference opener. I mean, we've seen a couple of these. We obviously saw Northwestern Nebraska last week in Ireland. We're going to see Illinois Indiana. We'll talk about that in a few minutes on Friday. And here's another Big Ten matchup to get the season started for Penn State and Purdue, with Penn State a 3.5-point road favorite here in West Lafayette. The total currently around 53.5 now. It's dropped a little bit. Some under money coming in. That's an interesting move with the under, because, and I'm not saying I disagree with it, but last year Purdue's defense, and the reason why they had, I think, a much better season is they finally played some defense. The defense was actually pretty solid for Jeff Brom and his Boilermakers last year. So, and when you come into this year with Purdue, that's a unit that loses a lot from that defense last year. So that does concern me a little bit. Certainly if I'm looking at the under, it concerns me here in this game. Look, there's a lot of people saying that if not Ohio State to win the Big Ten, maybe Penn State can, and maybe even find a way, because a lot of people think they are they're in the top 3 on paper in the conference next to Michigan and Ohio State. But I will say this, though. I mean, I've got to see it still from Penn State. I'm not at the point now where, I'm reading the press clippings. I'm reading the hype. Sean Clifford now probably as experienced a quarterback as anyone in the country with all the years now he's been at Penn State. But yet he's always been that quarterback that can just have a phenomenal game or a phenomenal quarter and then just do absolutely nothing the next game and the next quarter. So let's see how that goes. But no, there's a lot of reasons to be hopeful about what Penn State can do. But I've just seen this movie before with them where, the expectations are heightened and they're not always ready to match those expectations. And don't forget, we've seen Penn State play some of their worst football in multiple seasons under James Franklin early in the year. And then later on, they had to dig themselves out of an early deficit in a disappointing first month of the season. So I think talent-wise, when you match these two up, I definitely think there's a case to be made that Penn State's maybe not just better than Purdue this year, but maybe a lot. But I'm just not ready to lay 3.5. And one thing about Brom here, he always has a good offense when you give him all extra time to prepare, whether it's a bye week, whether it's getting ready for a bowl game, whether it's obviously first game of the season and you're prepping for Penn State all summer. I find he gets the offense going. And Aiden O'Connell returns as the quarterback. He knows the offense well. So this is a game where I'm not involved yet, but I'm actually leaning home dog with Purdue because I need to see it first from Penn State and show that they can live up to all these expectations that people have put on them. And the more this total drops, the more I'm interested in fading that move and looking the other way. So that's where I stand with this one. What do you think, Conor Mac? Big Ten action, Penn State, Purdue.
Yeah, we'll see if Penn State can live up to the hype, because I don't think anyone, can beat Ohio State. Wisconsin, maybe. You talk about it here, Clifford's back. It's kind of the same thing. Their problem, defense should be pretty good. Their problem was that offensive line. They gave up a ton of sacks last year. The problem was Purdue's defense, wasn't very good at times. You think of Purdue, their defense be a little bit better. They got into some shootouts last year. And you talked about O'Connell's back. They got some good receivers, transfers from Iowa. They did lose Bell, one of their top receivers. Bell will be a big loss, though. Yeah. Bell will be a big loss. I think they can hang in. I just thought this would be bigger. I thought this line would be 6.5 or so. So it's a little short, but I lean with Purdue here a little bit.
All right, leaning toward Purdue here as well. That's the way I am, and because I really, really think from a coaching standpoint, getting ready all summer for this first game, I've got more confidence. I got to say it. I've got more confidence in Jeff Brom than I do James Franklin. It's just the way it is. And don't forget, we've seen Penn State come unglued in games under this coach for penalties and just turnovers have been an issue.
Yeah,
and that's
coaching. Like Frost with Franklin, yeah.
Yeah, that's coaching. You can coach that up. That Mike Tomlin podcast he did last month, it's called The Pivot. I watched that interview. He's right. You're seeking comfort. It's the term that stuck with me. You're seeking comfort. He says, when you're saying, turnovers, there's nothing we can do. It's on the players for turning it over. No, you're seeking comfort because your coaching sucks. I love the way he phrased it, Mike Tomlin. You as a coach are seeking comfort. Like, it's not my fault. Players are turning it over, committing penalties. You don't believe it's a reflection of your coaching, which it absolutely is. And I think Scott Frost could heed some of those words after that debacle that we all saw on Saturday against Northwestern.